1, 2, 3. Tick, tick, tick. We've done it again, peeps. Oh my God. It is Sunday morning. Oh, hello. We have a friend. I'm running the gauntlet again. I'm doing this with the door open, and Ripley could just go off his head at any minute. Anyway, let's go live. Everybody, it's Sunday morning. Welcome to Sunday morning. You're probably wondering what the fuck I'm thinking I'm doing on a Sunday. But I figure Sunday mornings, I'm usually getting myself ready for a week of success and planning ahead. So I figure while I'm at it, I may as well help you set your week up and get ahead of the curve as well. If you don't know who you have just clicked on, I am Aileen Day. I am the owner of Meraki Business Solutions and Value Driven Brand, and the newly acquired aileenday.com.au, because some cheeky bugger already has aileenday.com. How dare they? Don't they know who I am? They're probably thinking the same thing. Anyway, so what are we doing here? Well, today, folks, we are going to be talking about testing your digital experience. Now, it all comes under this umbrella that if you haven't joined us before, you might not realize what we do here. And what we do is we talk about the joy of sex. That's right. We talk about the joy of customer, employee, and human experience, which when you put those together spells sex with a C, not an S. It used to be much easier. I used to have a big whiteboard behind me in my other office, and it used to have it up, and everyone would go, oh, I see what you mean. Smart. Now everybody just has to take my word for it. Or Google #CEHX, and you'll get it. So today, as part of putting you ahead of the curve, what we're going to be talking about is testing your digital experience. So for many of you, and if you are not in this bucket, I am at least hoping you are on your way to getting in the bucket, not in the bin, in the bucket of business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs who own a website. Now, if you have joined us in the past, you might have experienced the live broadcast that we did, where I discussed a recent holiday that I went on to Paynesville just over New Year's. And near Paynesville is a town called Bairnsdale. Now, not a lot happens in Bairnsdale. In fact, fuck all happens in Bairnsdale. But what is in Bairnsdale is a restaurant. And it is one of my favorite restaurants to visit when I go to regional Victoria, East Gippsland in regional Victoria. And the reason that I love going to this restaurant is because not only is the food delicious, the coffee is amazing, the service is wonderful, you get to have espresso martinis at breakfast time. Yes, I know. How exciting. What a treat. Yes, everyone's probably going, oh, okay, yeah, you're that kind of person. Yes, I am that kind of person. When I'm on holidays, I like an espresso martini at breakfast. And it's quite funny to see everybody else looking around at you drinking your espresso martini at breakfast, and you know they're jealous, right? They're not judging you. They're wishing they realized that they could have done the same thing. Anyway, so in this live broadcast, I discussed the point that for 3 days, I had tried to get a booking with the restaurant for a breakfast booking. And for 3 straight days, every time that we put in the website, and let's just put some context around this. It was holiday season in regional Victoria, or holiday season in all of Australia. It was post-pandemic, so it was the first time in about 8 months that the population of Victoria was allowed to travel in between regional and metropolitan Victoria. So it was a booming opportunity. And I think the screen just went black. Ooh, I hope we're back. All right, cool. No worries. And so it was a booming opportunity. And for 3 days, all instruction to this restaurant said, please make your bookings over the website. No worries, absolutely makes sense, especially post-COVID and all that stuff. It was no big deal. And I knew initially, I was like, oh, well, I'm not surprised that they're booked out. Every booking that we put in, it came up saying there are no times available 2 hours before or after the time you've selected. And I was like, oh, this really sucks. Anyway, on the third day, same thing happened. I was like, you've got to be joking me. Now, probably for the sheer fact that not only do I not really like taking no for an answer, sorry, Mum and Dad, but I also just started to think something was a bit weird. Now, I don't think I'm like the average consumer. And hey, Jeff, morning, happy Sunday. And the reason I'm not like the average consumer is because I've probably had a lot more behind the scenes comprehension of what really happens in business than the average consumer. And the average consumer probably would have got to like day 2 of trying to make a booking, and potentially, not all, but potentially many would have said, nah, screw this, just don't worry about it, we'll go somewhere else. Now that's great for other restaurants in the area, but not for this particular restaurant. And so on the third day that this happened, I was like miffed. I was like, I did not drive 3.5 hours to not have an espresso martini at breakfast. And yes, I know I could make an espresso martini at home, but it's not the same. I will judge my own self. So on the fourth day of this happening, I lost my bananas. And those watching who know me could only imagine what that looks like. So probably don't have to imagine what that looks like. So I actually got on the phone, and the first instance of calling them, I got a phone answering machine. And the answering machine indicated that they didn't have anybody to pick up the phone, but if you wanted a booking, please go to the website and make a booking at the website. So then I've got 2 points of contact, 2 communication points, 2 customer touch points, both indicating that the process is to go to the website to make a booking. Now, that's fine, but I had tried that and it was getting me nowhere, and I really, really wanted to eat there. And I'm not one to easily give up. So I waited 15 minutes and I rang them again. I'm one of those customers. As I say that, I'm like, oh, I'm one of those customers. All right. No one called me Karen. I got called a Karen the other day. I was highly offended. Anyway, rang them again. Someone answered the phone. And what happened next absolutely broke my heart, pissed me off and broke my heart. What happened was a wonderful, young, helpful lady answered the phone. And she said, how can I help you? And I said, I am trying to make a booking to eat breakfast at your restaurant. And she said, oh, you don't need to make a booking, just come down. And I said, what do you mean? I don't need to make a booking. The website says you have to use the website to make a booking, but all the times are booked out. And she said, for breakfast? And I said, yes. And she goes, that's weird. The restaurant's empty. The what? Is what? It's empty. Oh, and she then says, you don't need to use the website to book for breakfast. I said, well, it says to, and so does your answering machine, indicates that you need to use the website to book for breakfast. Oh, no. Breakfast, you just walk in. You have to use the website to book for lunch or dinner. I said, interesting. She said, yeah, come in. The place is empty. Now, again, let's go back to the context that we set up. Post-pandemic, 8 months of nobody being allowed to move, nobody being allowed to come in and out of regional Victoria, tourism on the down low, like businesses on the precipice of shutting down because they've got no one coming through the door. Holiday season, it was New Year's Eve, right? Or just after New Year's, right? So everybody is out and about for the first time in 8 months. And what you're telling me is that your beautiful, stunning restaurant in the middle of the CBD of Bairnsdale is empty. You've just broken my heart. So we traipse in there, right? 15-minute drive, get in there. By the time we get in there, there's only 2 people sitting in the restaurant. Couldn't believe it. We get in there, and we eat our meal. I have my martini, my espresso martini for breakfast, and we go to leave. And I think to myself, Aileen, you cannot leave without telling somebody what they are doing to themselves. They are losing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars purely because they haven't done an audit of their digital experience, right? So I stop from walking out and I step in back and I ask for the manager, which, all the young waitresses are like, is everything okay? Please don't get me in trouble. Right? They will freak out. I'm like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Call the manager. He argues with me, not argues with me, but he's adamant that he knows what the website says. And he says the website says that you don't need to book for breakfast on the website. I said, I promise you, sir, that I have been doing this now for 4 days, multiple times in the day for 4 days. There is not a single thing on your website that indicates that you don't need to book in for breakfast. And then also your secondary touch point being an answering machine also doesn't indicate that either. So ultimately, I've turned up here after 4 days of trying to get a booking to find out that your restaurant is empty and quite likely has been empty for as long as you haven't tested your digital experience. So when he finally realized I wasn't just being a crazy Karen, I'm sorry if there's any Karens watching. I love you. I have an auntie Karen. She's lovely. He went and finally said, okay, I'm going to go and check it out. I said, thank you. I'm like, I'm doing this for you, not for me. I mean, partly for me, but partly because it breaks my heart. As Jeff said, wow, some businesses just can't help themselves. No, but they can help themselves. They just don't, right? And I absolutely comprehend getting busy and being too busy, being in your business rather than working on your business. But what I am begging you is to make the time to at least once every quarter go and audit your digital experience, right? It makes me so sad. Can you imagine if in 6 months' time, nobody told them that, nobody questioned it, nobody pushed those buttons further to understand what was happening, and in 6 months' time, they had to close down and they never knew why. They just suddenly started thinking, shit, we're hemorrhaging customers. We don't get anyone in here for breakfast anymore. I don't understand. The food's still amazing. The service is great. What's going on? And all it was a stupid little button on the website. And because the other problem is that this day and age, as a consumer, we have so much choice. So many other things we could be doing with our time than trying to get a reservation, than trying to get a quote, than trying to get somebody to give us their time and energy. And the reality is we could just go somewhere else, right? If it wasn't for the fact that they had such a delicious value proposition, I wouldn't have pushed that hard either. I would have just accepted what was and moved on. Said, oh, they're fully booked. Let's go somewhere else. And if you're watching this, I could probably guarantee you've done exactly the same thing. You just accepted what was and moved on. And the reality was and is that had that business actually taken the time to test their user experience, their digital user experience, that they could have made so much more money that holiday period. They could have put themselves in a position of thriving instead of barely surviving. And that scares me because it's unnecessary. Absolutely unnecessary. So, with that in mind, here's a few things I want you to do. If you are the owner of a website, I don't even care if it's not an e-commerce website, right? But especially if it's an e-commerce website, this probably needs to be something that you do on a monthly basis if you take money on your website. If you don't take money, or you have, say for example, my new website is going to have an events page where you can book for workshops and events. For me, it is so important that that page is absolutely Mickey Mouse, that I will be holding myself accountable to test that section at least monthly, because I don't want potential clients of mine to see a workshop and then not be able to book into it and then think that that is now the perception of how I work. Like, oh, it's broken. What else is broken? Because that's instantly what happens. It changes our perception of your brand. So, the first thing I want you to do, if you haven't already, I want you to journey map the experience you want your customers to go through when they use your website. And if you don't know what journey mapping is, please DM me. I will get your email address and I will send you a copy of the webinar that I ran that details how to do a journey map. And the journey map basically details for you the touch points that your customers are going to go through on your website or through that digital experience to get from A to Z, right? And Z is advocacy and loyalty. I want you to journey map that experience, that digital experience. Understand each of the touch points and understand the wins, the opportunities, the failure points. Because if you don't understand it, your competitor will go and do this activity and they will be the ones ahead of the curveball, not you. I want you to be ahead of the curveball. The second thing I want you to do, get someone who doesn't have a clue to navigate it. Don't get somebody who built it. Number one, the people who built it become blind to it, right? The amount of times I have done digital audits with my clients and picked up some of the most hilarious things, so blatantly obvious, and they shake their head in shame because they're like, how did I not see that? One of them spelled their own business name wrong. Didn't even notice. Homework. I love homework. Oh, you wouldn't have heard me say that when I was 17. But now, yes, there needs to be a bit of homework. There needs to be a few actions that we give ourselves. And so the other thing and part of this is that you need to hold yourself accountable. You need to make time. When we say that we're too busy, basically what we're saying is it's not a priority. This is a motherfucking priority if I've ever seen one. If you like hemorrhaging sales, then don't do this. Switch off, go and enjoy Sunday morning. But if you like keeping your sales, if not even growing them, then you will make this a valued priority in the way that you do business, right? One of the things that I get my clients to do is an accountability chart, and it's the most basic chart. It is simply a list of the things that they need to hold themselves accountable to and the timeline for which those activities, because I don't call them tasks, they are activities, need to be fulfilled. So, for example, as I just mentioned before, if you have an e-commerce website, at least once a month, I would be delivering some level of digital audit outcomes, right? If you have a part of your website that ultimately, as I mentioned before, you can do bookings or relies on some level of two-way engagement, then again, that piece at a minimum should be tested once a month. Because people don't necessarily say, oh, hey, just so you know, I can't pay for something. Do you know what they do? If they really don't actually want it enough and it was a bit of a whim situation, they'll just leave it in the cart and leave. And you have an abandoned cart because you didn't even realize that the user experience is broken. So you might think once a month sounds excessive, but it's technology. Shit can break in a minute. As in, like, I'm doing this live stream, it's already blipped twice, right? It doesn't take a lot. So if you don't have any of those things and it's just a straight up pages, no real kind of interaction, at least once a quarter. And it was interesting. So while I was building aileenday.com.au, which I'm hoping gets released at the end of next week, I did an audit of value-driven brand. And it's even like, this is my job. And I still went back to value-driven brand and went, oh my God, there's a spelling mistake, which I hate. You know, oh, look, there's too many spaces between those words. And just simple little things that ultimately can affect the perception of your customers makes a difference. And if I had not gone back to audit and verify those pages on value-driven brand, which I built 9 months ago, then I wouldn't have noticed. And I potentially would have been losing clients because they look at that and they go, oh God, she can't even spell. Which if I can't spell, feel sorry for the rest of the people in my class because I was top of the class. Hi, Upway. Anyway, just funny. Then, right, so I want you to get someone who doesn't understand your website to navigate through it. And a really beautiful example was the other day, not important to the story, recently, I was on a website and I was doing some office supply shopping, and there was like 3 pieces of insight that, because I haven't particularly used their website a bit or very much, I'm still relatively new to it, there were 3 separate things that I thought, oh, well, if it had this, that would make it easier. Or if it had that, that would make it easier. Or if it had that, why does it do that? So I went back to the owner and I said, you know, this would make it easier, this would make it easier, and why does it do this? And she said, A, B, C, don't know, but let's fix it. And I was like, yay, right? But I'm an invested customer and I want to see them do the best they can do. So the theory is get someone who doesn't know your website, and it should be, the user experience should be so simple that somebody who's never seen or touched your website before could still navigate through it, could still, if you have a checkout, could still purchase something, get to the checkout, could still know that if they purchase this, that they're also going to need this, right? How are you being that one-stop shop for them? And listen to their feedback. Even if you think to yourself, that's stupid, like you just say that because you don't know how to use it, well, they're not going to be the only ones who think that, because not all of your clients are necessarily going to be technology whizzes. So you need to make your website as simple for the lowest skill denominator. Otherwise, you're going to lose customers, right? The third thing I want you to start taking into consideration is getting some quantifiable data. So if you have your website hooked up to maybe Google Analytics, or you might have some plugins that give you some details as well, like my WordPress website has data insights in the back end, tells me how many people have hit it, what countries most of the users are coming from, that type of stuff. I want you to start taking some notice of those things. And you can even take that one step further and really get some deep insights and start using heat maps potentially. That is software that basically you load it onto your website, plug it into your website, and it tells you how people are using your website. How fucking cool is that, right? And then you can absolutely make sure that, for example, statistically, people read websites in an F shape. So they go like this, right? So you always need to make sure that the most important information is in the top right-hand corner. Did you know that? Hey, fun fact. Yeah, I'm like the Wiggles. I'm the pink wiggle. Oh, I'm hilarious. Anyway, so heat maps can be, and you can get free versions of heat maps. And obviously there's limited functionality that comes with the free version, but download them and see what people are doing on your website. You know, with Meraki Business Solutions, when I started doing some research into the data coming out of Meraki Business Solutions, I actually found I was getting so confused because it was saying that I was getting 300 hits a week or a month or whatever it was. And I was like, well, where are all these people? What's happening? And then doing some further research, I actually found out that what they were doing was they were looking for a Queensland company called Meraki Business Services, and who didn't have a website. So, which is very weird. But Meraki Business Solutions was always the first one to appear on Google. So I was getting, and they were a recruitment agency. So I was getting like major hits, but they weren't from my target audience. It was a mistake. So for me, that made me go, okay, well, I now have that insight. What can I do about it? Ultimately, I went and created value-driven brand. That was my solution for the time being. Just get a new website. But at least I know that, rather than sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm losing 300 potential clients a month. I then realize, okay, well, actually, they're not my clients. That, you know, those people are actually looking for something else. So, but if I didn't start to take notice of the analytics that were coming through from the website and through from Google and whatnot, then I wouldn't know. And to be honest, it's your job to know, because if you can't steer the ship, how's anyone else meant to? So those are the three things. There is your homework. Over the next probably week or two, I would love to hear back and tell me what came up for you when you did your digital experience audit. How did it change the way that you positioned yourself to your customers? How did it improve the customer experience, which ultimately affects your employee experience, right? Let's think about the restaurant. There's no customers coming in. What's the ultimate next thing that happens? You're not making sales, so then you start putting employees off, right? How shit is that? All because of a silly button on your website. So it might sound non-consequential, but the consequences are actually huge, and they affect every part of the way that you deliver your customer, employee, and human experience. Okay, Mama's had a rant. I'm going to go make scones. Yes, I am. I've never made scones before. I don't know what's come over me. It's rainy weekend, something to do. And so wish me luck. Thankfully, there's no customers eating them. But I hope that has helped. I thank you guys for joining me this morning. I hope you are enjoying what is going to be a wonderful rest of the Sunday. Unless you're in Melbourne and you enjoy the rain. But that's cool. We need it. We need it. Oh, my God, I sound like a real Melburnian. We need the rain. Oh, that's so cute. It's only taken me 25 years. Very good, Master Baker. Oh, not quite. I'll post a photo, Jeff. You can be the judge. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Go and plan for a week of success. Go and check out your own websites and make sure that that digital experience is top notch, not just up to scratch, but top bloody notch, right? And if you need help, please hit me up. I'll send you the customer journey webinar, and it's magic from there. Go and deliver value to somebody else out in your life, because, you know, what goes around comes around. And I will see you back here on Wednesday morning. Till then, have a great week. Bye.